Welcome to the Shark Tank Podcast. Each week, one of the best entrepreneurs from ABC's network smash hit Shark Tank teaches you how to swim with the sharks without being eaten alive. And now your host, serial entrepreneur, TJ Hale.
There's someone else at QVC that sells product? I'm shocked.
All right, what's up, Shark Traps? Welcome back. This is an exciting episode of the Shark Tank Podcast. Now, this gentleman's been in the Shark Tank Podcast before, and that's because he's been on Shark Tank coming up on probably a half a dozen times now. Original segment, update segment, a new segment, partnered with Mark Cuban, new update coming. I've lost track. I can't even figure it out, but he's been officially dubbed the godfather of Shark Tank, and he's here to talk about it. This is Dave Alwan at Echo Valley Meats. Dave, what's up, brother?
Hey, TJ. First of all, brother, thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
That feeling's mutual. I think people who get introduced to you say, you know what? That guy Dave, I love that guy. I mean, everyone feels that way. Is there anyone who doesn't like you? Like, who is that person?
You know, I'm not here on this earth trying to please anybody or everybody. I just do what I do. I treat people with respect. I love life, and I just keep moving forward. I as you know very well, TJ, I haven't been dealt the easiest deck of cards. You know, I have a child that doesn't talk or walk and has seizures every day. So, you know, we think we have problems. We don't have problems. That child's got a problem. The rest of it we can deal with on our own. So I just keep moving forward, and I don't look back.
So for those listening that don't know, I actually got to go out to visit you for your Shark Tank viewing party during season 6, which was a lot of fun and which was totally unexpected. Dave has his hands full doing his deal with Mark Cuban, trying to please everybody for the Shark Tank viewing. And what does he do when I get there and some of his other esteemed guests who are coming to visit? He ships us off to a salon to give us massages and hair and nails done. I didn't partake in that last part, although I was tempted. And basically give us a spa treatment day that you'd win on Wheel of Fortune. Meanwhile, you're trying to run your business empire. I was totally floored by that. I'll never forget it.
I was honored to have you and my other guests in Peoria. I think it was I think if not most of you, first viewing party. And so for you guys to come to Peoria, Illinois, and get to share with me, it was exceptional. It was, as you know, the night was epic. There was just an exhilarating crowd and just a great time. You know, I think from the time you hit the ground till the time you left, you didn't have too much time to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I got there? Well, of course, I had to drive in from wherever I flew into, which was fun. But then we went off to the Maui gym plant, which is still one of the coolest experiences of my life as far as seeing a completely production efficient factory at work. Those guys know what they're doing. I'd like to have Mike on the show actually to talk about it. It was incredible.
Yeah, Maui Gyms, for you that don't know what you listeners, it was started here in Peoria, Illinois. And, you know, they are in about 20 countries now. And other than, Sunglass Hut, which is Exotica, which owns Ray-Ban and Oakley. I mean, they're the only two players left in the real major players, which is Exotica and Maui Gyms. And so they're a major force on earth with sunglasses.
To watch a CEO walk through his production floor and know every single person's name. I mean, how many employees were there? I don't remember. I just remember everyone turning around, Mike, what's up? I mean, of course,
350 in Peoria. Yeah.
Of course, they were drinking that day because of the big party they were having that night. But even so.
Bonus day.
That was so much fun. My trip to Peoria was incredibly pleasant. In fact, I'm nervous about going back because I don't know how I'm going to top it, but hopefully I'll get to come back and hang out with you again.
I would love it.
So, yeah, we covered that. You feed my family what you feed yours. That's the slogan. And I'm kind of curious, for people who saw you during your first outing, you know, there was kind of this big transformation that happened. And I talk about this on the show a lot. It's all about distilling the lessons and the criticisms and the feedback that you get and taking it and getting some real world implementation. You did that and you got a second chance to go back on Shark Tank. I think you're only the third person that's ever gotten to go back twice. And I don't think anyone ever had as much success on their return trip as you've had. So kind of take us through how that happened.
Well, you're right. Obviously, I think there's been 3 of us back. 2 of us have pitched the same product twice. And fortunately, I'm the only one that's pitched the product twice and successfully closed a deal with multiple offers. So, you know, any of us that ever go on the show, never think in your wildest dreams you're going to get a second chance to come back on the show. But what I did after season 4 was I took the Sharks' words of wisdom very right to heart, is what I did. And they loved my product, but I didn't have a good enough business plan and didn't know my customer acquisition cost. So I dug deep, man. hired a couple universities, did some research projects. 2 universities both gave me 500-hour research projects. We ordered from all my competitors, and we compared to where we were versus everybody else in the industry for sizing, for packaging, for wow factor. So I really drilled down and got to know my numbers inside and out. And then, of course, get the unexpected surprise. Hey, would you consider coming back on the show? And, I sure as heck was going to make that one count, getting a second opportunity. And for those of you that saw it, I did come back, and they even commented that, wow, you know your numbers. And I was ready. I was ready for the show. I was prepared for the show. And, business has grown crazy in the last 2 years. And so getting this chance, I knew going in that if I had the opportunity, Mark Cuban was the guy I wanted, period. The rest of them everybody's great. And, actually they're all first class, world class, ahead of first class. But Mark was the guy, as I say, that can help Dave and Echo Valley Meats connect the dots along this journey. And so that's the guy that I wanted. And so even though some of the other offers were far better numbers, it was never to me about the money. It was about the relationships and the partnership to who can open the most doors.
It's funny. It seems like every time we talk, I hear you say it's not about the money, because you're always sending free meat to someone. You've sent me 2 separate packages, and it's like Christmas every time one shows up. I know you've done the same for Rob and some other people in our networks, but you talk about the speeches that you give where you feed everyone for free, and you send so much out knowing it's going to come back to you. That's something that's always impressed me. And as I was reading your season 4 synopsis, I forgot that you had done about $1.25 million in sales, and you had almost no profit at that point. I totally forgot about that. I think it says here 20,000. That seems inconceivable to me.
Yeah, no, that was true, because you got to remember something, TJ. That was season 4. Mail order was only $180,000, where it was retail, catering, mail order, and so those 3 of them combined about $1.4 million, whatever it was back then, with only 20,000 profit. So, and that was part of the thing that Sharks got me to really understand, was the dynamics of my business and knowing my numbers. And as soon as I started really digging in, I saw real quick that I was focusing energy in the wrong fields. Catering can only grow so big. Retail can only grow so big. But the mail order was the thing that I saw had the biggest potential to scale. And it was the best opportunity, because when you're going business to consumer, going direct, you're getting paid up front. So it's not like me selling to the Ciscos of the world, where I have to produce on pennies and then hope they pay me in 30 days. Where the internet business is a completely different dynamic, you're paid up front. So theoretically, you're making your profit before you even do the work. So as soon as I realized what I was doing wrong, I started pouring all of my energy into the mail order, and I haven't stopped yet.
Yeah, I think in your second appearance, you're in season 4. It didn't go wonderfully. I mean, I thought the segment was good. It's not like they beat you up, but they exposed a couple areas of opportunity, let's say.
Yep.
Season 5, you get an update, which actually was pretty solid. And then in season 6, you come back on, and instead of asking for $300,000 for 20%, which you did the first trip up, you actually took it down to $150,000 for 20%. And I believe that was just for the mail order side?
That's right, because the first time they didn't really want anything to do with a quote brick and mortar, and they really didn't care about catering. So I thought, okay, they're interested in the mail order. I'll just split the mail order off and keep the same evaluation as what I did the first time. And sales have gone up. I've learned a lot, and so I thought it was a more than fair opportunity for the Sharks.
Yeah, and Mark, eventually, you mentioned some of the offers. Kevin, 20%, Kevin down to 17.5%, and eventually Mark said $150,000 for 25%, mail order business with an option to buy into the retail business, but he wants to know right now. You even get a shot clock. He said right now, drop the bucket, and you jumped all over. And I will say this, one of the coolest things that happened since I've done the podcast is standing there next to you when this happened during the party. And that's after all the prodding we were doing, no pun intended, trying to get you to tell us what was going to happen later that day, but you wouldn't spill.
Yeah, it was pretty, you remember, it was electric. I mean, we had Google Analytics up that night. And for those of you that have never seen what happens, or what they call the Shark Tank effect, man, when you go live and your episode hits, It's so cool to have Google Analytics up because you literally go from like 3 people to like 30,000 people at the blink of an eye. And you were standing right next to me, TJ, between that and my phone blowing up from every email and every text message that anybody I know on planet Earth was sending me. It was just such an amazing night.
Yeah, I thought your phone was going to melt. But here's the thing. Your phone blew up the entire time I was there. I don't think I ever saw you. Like when this Google auto-driving car comes out, you're going to be the first one to get it off the line because then you can just focus on your phone all the time.
No, you're right. I average about 600 to 800 emails a day and probably 200 to 300 text messages a day. So I'm probably close to 1,000 messages. But believe it or not, I answer every single one myself.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Marcus Lemonis. I said, "What are you going to do when it's time to unplug and like get someone else to answer emails?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm not there yet. It might never happen." And I thought he was crazy back then, but now I realize like you're just wired that way. I mean, there's no. What's the point in trying to fix it? It's never going to happen.
No, my staff used to get mad at me when I would send somebody an email back at 10:30 at night because something would come into the info box and I see every company email comes through my phone too. And so I'd respond back and the girls would say, "People are going to think you're crazy." And then I would start forwarding them the emails from the customers going, "Oh my goodness, this is above and beyond customer service. Wow, am I impressed?" And so once they realized this is how I built my company, they realized I'm not the average guy. I'm not the average business. I go over and above for my customers, and nobody's going to tell me to stop doing that. It's simply not going to happen. That's how I built this company, and that's how who I am.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, he is crazy. That's the truth. And I hear all this time, I thought you learned that from Mark Cuban. Do you guys email each other at 2 a.m? Is that your quiet time?
Usually at 2 o'clock in the morning, I am sleeping, thank goodness. But no, you know what? Mark's no different. I can send him a message, and literally within 15 to 60 minutes, 80% of the time, I get a response back. So he's no different than the rest of us. He checks his own stuff and he sends his own messages right back. And from what I know, he does all of his own social media posts too. So it's not like even like he has somebody doing that stuff. He's the guy actually doing it.
Yeah, there's so many people in the audience are thinking, man, I just want to get to the point where I don't have to answer my own email or do my social media. And here you got you two. Like, that's your escape, I guess I could call it. Like, you can't get you off of it. It's hilarious to me.
Well, as I say, if Mark Cuban can take the time to respond back to Dave Alwan, who's nobody, Dave Alwan can sure as heck take the time to respond back to anybody that reaches out to me.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the things you've implemented since then, because, we've talked a few times and things have just been shooting up like a star. I want to use the word shoot twice, like a shooting star. And you've just got so many opportunities that have come to you because of Shark Tank, but not necessarily things that are, that other people couldn't do, other people couldn't implement in their business. So let's talk about some of the tools or tactics that you've used to really kind of kick the mail order business in the backside. Give us some examples.
Sure. Okay. Well, I would say I've always been into what they call the B2C business, the business to consumer, where now we're getting in the B2B, business to business. And this one really has opened my eyes with all the companies that have incentive programs, safety program, reward programs. Whether we're into Google's employee program, we're in with the Destination Rewards, which handles like the Citibanks and the Allstates and the Verizons of the world, their programs. And so now we're really getting into these business to business programs. And whether it's employees or customers or referrals or retirement, I mean, we're getting into all of them. And what I find completely astonishing in this, what we call this incentive world, it's about a $77 billion a year annual business. And food is 30% of that. And what I find, there are several food companies in it, but there's only one meat company in the whole program, yet there's 8 watch companies. And so I just can't even believe it. And so we're just seem to be on fire right now because our product speaks for itself and it's something new and different in the industry. And, you said the word that you said earlier that I like to use every day is opportunities seem to present themselves to me every single day. We're growing very rapidly, but very organically. And I'm saying no, probably more than I'm saying yes, because if it doesn't work for us, you can't do it. You can't be everything to everybody. And so I know what's working and I'm sticking to it. And I'm not going to veer off of that path. If somebody wants something completely customized, will I do it? I will price it to you. And then if you want us to do it, we will do it. But it's not going to be your everyday pricing structure. And there's certain people that don't even care about that just want us to do it So we're doing stuff like that, the stuff that I really don't even want to do, but we're pricing it so it makes sense to still go ahead and do it. So it's almost a case-by-case situation right now because just things are every day. And literally, as you know, TJ, you and I talk a lot. Most people wouldn't even believe it if I told them everything happening. It's just, you have to know me to really say, this guy's, what he's telling you is the truth and vouch for it, because I'm just blessed. I count my blessings every day. And as my uncle said, don't try to carry 3 watermelons with 2 hands. You will always drop one. So I've got 2 hands on 2 watermelons nice and tight, and I'm making sure every decision counts.
There's been a couple times where I hang up the phone and I make that face. My wife's like, who is that? Like, who do you think? She goes, Dave, huh? Crazy stuff. Because you've just, the amount of volume and interest you've attracted since being on has been incredible. But it says a lot about you and the business, because that's not happening to everyone who goes on. And we know that. Let's talk a little bit about your partnership with Wicked Good Cupcakes. This was big news when it broke, and it's kind of new territory for you. So I'm hoping there's something that listeners can learn from the way that you went out and sought collaboration opportunities, in this case with them. I know you've done it with others.
Absolutely. Well, it was Kevin's idea on the show on season 6 when we filmed, and Kevin wanted to go in partnerships, and Kevin wanted me to, quote, sell his Wicked Good Cupcakes. And the light bulb went off instantly as I'm filming, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't call them because I can't tell them about this. So I had to wait till we air, then reached out to them and gave them the idea. I do meats, you guys do treats. You're on the East Coast, I'm in the center. This is a really good fit. Now you have 2 phenomenal Shark Tank companies, not to mention both have inked deal with 2 sharks that both happen to be billionaires that have the opportunity or the potential to open a lot of doors for us along the way. And so as you just alluded to, it's a brand new venture. Our new corporate catalog just came out a couple of weeks ago. And so I'm really ecstatic to be working with Wicked Good Cupcakes as a partnership and Echo Valley Meats. I think it's a match made in heaven. Is it going to take a little bit of time to get off the ground and really where we want it to be? Absolutely. I mean, right now we're trying to push it for them, and it's in our corporate catalog. But we've already heard a couple of times, no, we'll get the meat from you, we'll call them direct. And that's fine. We just want to give somebody the luxury, so to say, if they want to be able to get a meat and treat package and shipped. And so we're already getting some orders. We just got some orders in this week for the first few off the ground, where they're ordering some, whether it's hams or steaks with some of their Wicked Good Cupcake stuff. So I think it's a great relationship, and I'm excited about where it's going to go. I read on, I think it was Rob's blog, that after your second airing, you did somewhere over $1 million in sales within, a week or two? Or maybe a couple weeks. I mean, I remember seeing the Google board, so I knew you were getting a ton of traffic, but I don't know the exact dollar amount, TJ, but it was, we rock and rolled. I mean, I won't say we didn't, we did it, and we made it count this time. We're after season 4. We had so much traffic unexpectedly. As you know, I had a software glitch, and I shipped $100,000 twice. I only got paid for it once.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we put a lot of systems into place with our Magento website, our ShipWorks, our SKU Vault, all the integration that goes in the back end stuff that nobody ever sees, that put these systems into place so that stuff cannot happen again. And now our efficiencies are better, our productivity is better, our output is better, we're hiring better employees. And so we're going to work. I still learn each and every day. I'm only 46 years old, and let me tell you something. I'm far from have all the answers on this world or this business. So I just have to keep doing what I'm doing and learn from my own mistakes each and every day.
Well, the question I really had, which I haven't gotten to ask anyone else except for maybe Rebecca, but she was one of my first interviews, was what did you do differently from the first Shark Tank Tsunami to the second? Because everyone prepares for that first one, but very few people have gotten to do it twice. So obviously you knew more, you're better prepared. You have Mark as a partner. What was the tactical strategy difference that second night?
Lots. We had so much product ready to ship out the next day, where season 4, typically we ship, 3 to 5 days. We had to, thank goodness it was after all the holidays, we had to change our website to 21 to 27. We had a lot more volume this time, but we did not have to change our 3 to 5 day window. We were able to get everything out of here very efficient and very fluidly. So I think it was the preparation of being ready this time and knowing what was about to come, especially now that I inked the deal. every media person in the country wanted to talk about it, because at the time we were I think we're still the only one from what I know that has ever came back and got the deal. So it was big news. It was like everybody, Meat and Poultry Magazine, a global meat magazine, did a 6-page article on us. I'm speaking all over. I mean, there's people writing articles all the time about it, because it really is rare. It's a unique situation. We got the opportunity to come back and present, and I wanted to make the best of it, and I was very fortunate I was able to.
We've talked about having Mark on the show to talk about this segment, and I think that's the question I would ask. I would say, look, did you just deal – I've got a couple of theories here. One, you realize Dave's a rock star and you just wanted to work with him. Two, he was sending meat to your wife for like 8 months straight, and you knew if you said no, you'd get in trouble from her, so you had to do a deal with him.
Well, not just his wife, his mother-in-law, his sister-in-law, they're all really good customers, and some of them have become personal friends as well, so it's great.
Yeah, so you can't go home and say, I turned Dave down, like he's your partner. You know it's going to happen, and that was smart on you. Good, nice job. And then the last theory was, Mark wants to be the guy that closed that round trip deal that you made. Dave's back and everybody wants a piece of him. So I'm Mark Cuban. I'm going to get him. And that's going to be my question and just to Mark, why he took you up this time and not last time. My question to you is, what has Mark brought to the business? Give us some insight on his value as a partner.
Well, Mark is there for as little or as not as little as you need him. And I'm very fortunate because I've been in business 25 years now since I got out of college, but on my own now for 17. So I haven't had to lean on him a lot, and I really don't want to. I don't want to be in his way. I just want to be just rocking and rolling. And if I need help, then they can help open a door for me or whatever. It's like they just reached out to me the other day because all the sharks are doing a big promotion on Zulily for the holidays. And so, they wanted to include me in that group. And so, he just because of his name and his relationship with people, it's opening doors organically. He had to speak in Texas, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So me and Andrea from Luminade, there was like 4 or 5 Monkey Match. There was like 4 or 5 of us that all were there. And you know what? Mark's just a normal guy like you and me. I mean, at the end of the day, he's high-fiving, he's taking photos, whatever you want to do, walking around in blue jeans and a T-shirt. He's just a normal guy, and I've always treated him like he's just a normal guy because, again, I appreciate life far better than most. And so whether it's Mark Cuban or whoever, I've really never been intimidated by it. I've always been in awe by it, and I always want to know what they're doing that I can learn from. But I kind of feed off of that positive energy rather than a lot of people kind of clam up and get all nervous. And I'm just kind of just the opposite. And so Mark and I have a really good working relationship, and I'm very fortunate that I have his support and, the opportunity to work with him.
All right. So it's nothing too intense. It's mainly just if you use the red bat phone if you need him for something, and he's there for you, right? It's like Commissioner Gordon.
Exactly. Yep.
You mentioned this event. I know you've been speaking all over the place. I know you've really taken advantage of the Shark Tank Tsunami or the platform it's created for you. But I had a question about some of the other things that have kind of come out of this. We've talked about fulfillment. We've talked about the amount of product that you ship and merchant services and these other opportunities that aren't really in your wheelhouse, but because you've gotten good at them and you've learned the industry, you're kind of branching out a little bit. Is this something you want to talk about, or is it a little premature?
Well, no, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about it. Because of me, learning the hard way after season 4 and making these humongous logistic errors, we've become really good and efficient at distribution, at shipping. Perfect example. One of Mark's companies is called Alyssa's Cookies. It's Mark's favorite cookie. It was not a Shark Tank item, but they reached out to me and wanted to know if I could put them on my website and ship them for them because they didn't have distribution. So I said, absolutely. I mean, that's after we're selling the Cookie Dough Cafe that were on Shark Tank, the Blue Jean Hip Chick girls that were on Shark Tank, Bill Curtis out of Chicago that was on Shark Tank. And then I was just at QVC last week, ran into Byron from Corduroy, ran into Bantam Bagel people, ran into Aaron from Scrub Daddy. And, just talking right there to Bantam Bagel. I mean, instantly it's like, oh, we're having some issues. And I'm like, I can help you. And so, we've already started our dialogue with them. And if I can help them, I love helping people that have the passion and the energy that really want to get there, but they're smart enough to understand they don't have all the answers. And I say that each and every day. I want to learn. So anybody that wants to share insight or help me, I'm always all ears. And so I want to pay it forward and be able to work with these other Shark Tank entrepreneurs. And at the end of the day, it even ends up working out better because I can do the distribution for them cheaper than they can do it themselves, still make a little bit of money, and it's a win-win for everybody. So I, you know what, TJ, I wouldn't be surprised if a year from now, instead of just shipping for 6 or 7 companies, if I'm not shipping for 2 or 3 dozen more, because it seems like I have that much opportunity to become a fulfillment center.
That boggles my mind. Like, I don't want to wrap my head around the logistics of your logistics, if that makes sense.
The nice thing about us being in the center part of the country, which is really crucial for perishables, meaning food, I can ship Monday or Tuesday ground and get to either coast the same week. So a perfect example is Bantam Bagels that's on the East Coast. They cannot ship to California the same week without putting it in the air. So logistics, it makes a big challenge for people that aren't centrally located to go either direction the same work week. And so that's one of the challenges they're facing, where I can ship out of here, go to New York or go to California, and it's going to get their ground safely with enough dry ice and save the consumer a lot of money on shipping, where they're having some of these logistics issues. And so I'm really happy about where we're at right now in our shipping process and what we've uncovered and what we've learned. And I'm happy to work with these people and share what I know.
And out of curiosity, you know, I've got some video from when I was there at your facility that I'm going to post. I've just been waiting to do this interview. And I'm looking at these companies that you're working with fulfillment wise, and, you know, like Corduroy's, they have huge products. Do you have a new warehouse? Because at the time, I'm trying to remember where in your facility you would house all these products. And Bantam Bagels, those are bites, that's easy. But some of the other ones, you're gonna need a lot of square footage. Where's that?
Well, if you remember my freezer, TJ, it's tall. It's like 22, 24 foot tall. So we can go up 3 high stacking pallets. And so if my freezer holds 76 pallets, there's probably 126 in there right now.
Oh, wow.
You know, and a pallet can be 2,500 pounds. So I've got so much product. You know, we are starting to burst at the seams. And, you know, obviously I like to pay as I go. I'm not a big fan of debt. And so I've got my eye on some warehouses that have some coolers and freezers in them already, because I think it's just a matter of time before I have no choice but to get into a bigger facility.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm going to plug the course that Julie and I are putting together for the Ultimate Shark Tank Guide to Grocery Launch, or to Retail Grocery Launch, because she mentioned that when it comes to fulfillment, she's like, you know, I think it was 78 or 80% of the population are east of the Mississippi or east of the Midway line. And so fulfillment centers have to be kind of in that centrally located area for you to get the most efficiency, which is kind of smack dab where you're at in Peoria.
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly right. It's 4 days to the West Coast and 3 days to the East Coast. So if I was maybe one more state to the east, which might be like Kansas City, I don't know if that changes it from 3 days to 4 days going east, or 4 days to 3 days going west. But realistically, it's 1 day different, moving a little bit. I don't think I could be in a better location than I am.
She actually mentioned looking for a new West Coast logistical partner. Maybe she should talk to you.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to anybody if I can help. I mean, it's, you know, one shoe doesn't fit all, and I'll be the first to tell you if it doesn't work for them or for me, I'm going to let them know. Because it's not about just shipping goods for them. It's about letting them understand why we're shipping goods and why it works in both parties' favor.
What would you say to yourself the day from, you know, 3 or 4 years ago before you went on Shark Tank for the first time? The guy who didn't know his numbers, the guy who wasn't really making very much profit, but was working very, very hard, had a great product. You know, the people listening are at a point where most of them, you know, they only need a couple more puzzle pieces, if not just one, to kind of put the picture together and take their business to the next level. So kind of give some insight into what you would say to yourself if you had to look back and say, Dave, this is how you kind of put the equation together and solve it.
Well, I think number one is there's multiple things to this equation here. Number one, I think no matter how small or how big you end up getting, always be humble and never forget where you came from. Because there's, like you just said, there's a lot of other people still in your shoes that are still trying to get to the next level. And so number one is being humble. Number two is truly knowing your numbers and knowing your industry. Know why you're better than your competitors. Know why you're not as good as your competitors. You better have 10 reasons why you're better and 3 reasons why you're not better. And that's what I did after season 4 with the Sharks Advice, was literally uncovering what everybody in the mail order business did and how we stacked up against them and where we rated and are we better, and is our if your wife opens it or your mother opens it or your neighbor opens it, the first word I want out of everybody's mouth when they open our package is wow, look at this. And so I think we've created the wow factor. So you really have to understand your industry. And, you know, what did Einstein say? Success only comes from experience. And if you're going to get lucky, go play the lottery. If you really want to understand what you're doing, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time for you to really understand your business and for you to accept the fact that you really don't understand your business yet. And the smart ones understand what they don't know, and they're not afraid to reach out to help or ask for advice from somebody that might know. And so that was probably one of my biggest downfalls, was maybe I thought I knew too much where I didn't. And so I went back to the drawing board to really start uncovering some stuff that really was an eye-opener to me, to be honest with you.
One of the things that was great about visiting you in Illinois is I got to spend some time with Dawn, your wife, and she's pretty sharp. So she wasn't there to tell you that you had a lot to learn still, or was she just kind of letting you figure it out on your own?
Well, I'm very fortunate. Dawn is she's a workhorse, man, and she owns her own company as well. She owns an insurance agency, so she's as busy as I am. But more importantly, I'm gone so much. We have a daughter that doesn't talk or walk. She takes care of Jessica, but she also manages all the farms and takes care of all the horses. We board, 15 or 19 horses. And so she's the one taking care of all the horses on her own 80% of the time as well. So she always, we always have our powwow sit down and, advice and words of wisdom and here's what I recommend and stuff like that. But, she's always let me kind of run wild. I'm a visionary. And so, as I end every single speech with TJ, if your dreams are not bigger than reality, you have a problem with your dreams. And I can tell you right now, I'm not afraid to think big.
Yeah, I consider it an honor to have you as a friend. I love chatting with you on the phone. And Dave's always got something interesting to say. So I'm really glad I was able to have you back on again. And I was thinking about our Shark Tank Hangover. You came and hosted one, which I'll link to in this podcast. We kind of rehashed one of the episodes. Then I had Julie from Sloss on, and she said, it's too bad Dave wasn't there for the Three Jerks Jerky episode, because I'm sure he could tell us everything we want to know about this product. Did you watch that by chance?
I did. Was that the one that had the beef tenderloin?
Yeah, they were using, I call it filet. You know what it is. Yeah. And she basically...
And I would be really curious to see if that deal ever got inked, because let me tell you something. That would be beef jerky is such a massive market in this country. Every gas station, every C-store you walk into has 10 flavors. For them to use beef tenderloin is going to send their price off the charts. So there might be a market for it, but it's going to be such a select market for it. It's not even funny. So I'm sure it's the bomb. I'm sure it's incredible. They're using the best meat on earth for it. But at the end of the day, I'm not quite sure it's a business plan that's going to be sustainable. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, Julie, so I'd love to try it. Don't get me wrong. But Julie talked about making her own beef jerky and said, no, during the process, there's a word that I can't recall when they basically process it or dry it out.
Procuring?
Yeah, but it wasn't procuring. It was a word I wasn't familiar with, or I just can't remember. She said that process actually dries the meat out, and the differences between a filet and another type of meat that they typically use for it, sorry, this is not my area of expertise, are basically mitigated, and you can't really tell the difference anymore. So she made the claim that whatever makes filet delicious is not going to be reflected in the beef jerky. So the cost essentially has gone to waste, and now you're just marketing it as tenderloin. Is that true, or is that not true?
I would probably agree with that, because when it's raw, beef tenderloin is a much, much softer tissue. But once you dry it down and cure it so much, I don't want to use the word shoe leather because you still want it tough, but it becomes tougher. And so it's going to dry it out, and nobody's ever going to be able to tell probably that's tenderloin versus maybe a beef brisket that the other jerky's made out of. So I think she's got a very valid point. Rather than pay $6 or $7 a pound cost for the raw goods of brisket, you're going to pay $15, $17 a pound for filet, for meat that nobody's going to be able to tell the difference after it's cooked anyway.
Yeah, that's essentially what she said. And by the way, that reminds me, when I went to your shop, I ate beef jerky, a lot of it, and you've got that giant store display full of it. I would just graze that thing all day. Like, was there a period of your life where you just ate jerky all day long? Are you still in that period?
You were here, 2 days, and you probably barely even saw me eat.
This is true. We didn't eat it all together.
Yeah, I never stopped. That's what's funny is it's pretty sad, because literally halftime at night on my way home at 7 o'clock or 5:30, I'm like pulling through a McDonald's because I realized I've been at it now 12 or 14 hours and haven't even ate one meal of the day yet. And here I've got everything at my disposal between the retail, the catering, and the plant, full-blown kitchen, catering staff, everything. And here I'm eating crap food half the time just because I can't stop.
Would you like to supersize that? Yeah, that's how you typically eat.
I don't do that, but at least I'm honest.
Oh, man. So one other thing, you mentioned QVC. That was on my list here because, when I had Kevin on, he talked about the regime change and dethroning Lori as the queen of QVC. And then I don't remember the order. I think you actually went on with Mark before Kevin got involved. But now there's a lot of people playing in the QVC sandbox. So tell me about your experience there, how successful it was. You talk about making friends on set from all these other Shark Tank entrepreneurs. What's going on with QVC?
Well, I was just on last week for the second time. I was on a couple years ago, right after season 4, and did okay, not great, but again, I learned a lot. So Mark did not go on with me. Mark actually has been on once with the Nuts and More guys is all.
Right.
But I went on last Wednesday. It was a 7-minute segment, and we sold out in 7 minutes. We absolutely slaughtered it. We had a phenomenal showing. I've actually been on the phone today because we did a sausage and cheese gift set for Christmas. QVC has a massive audience and another first-class operation. They know what they're doing. And so I'm going to go back 1, 2, maybe 3 more times yet this year. I don't know. We're looking at some dates and some options right now. And I'm really excited because, when you can go on a platform like that and sell out thousands of boxes in minutes, man, you're talking some major tonnage. And, you work off of much smaller margins. So it's not like me selling that many packages to the end users because the margins are different. But what it does is it opens your product up to the world. And, you sell a lot of product, and if your numbers are in and you're going to move volume, you're still going to make money. So I had a phenomenal experience there. I was really excited about it. QVC tried a couple things different. They had me sitting on a couch rather than standing up because they felt like that's how our product would eat. So we were kind of, a little bit new in a test pilot form, and it worked, and we still sold out. And so we're excited to go back for sure and see what happens next round. That's all I can say.
You touched on something really important. I had a client just today I was speaking with on the phone who had an opportunity to do a collaboration for 4,000 products, but she wasn't able to sell them above cost. She goes, so hopefully, some people love the product and they'll reorder from me. I'm like, well, how are you tracking it? What's your metric? What's your retention rate? And she didn't know. And I said, look, if you're going to put all that effort into sending out free product, and this is her, not you, so you might have a different philosophy. Like, you need to make sure you need to know what your retention rate is. And I know that you said in season 6, I think that your customer acquisition cost is like $12, but it was less than 10% of that to retain a customer. So it's worth it for you all day long.
Absolutely. It's interesting you say that because we're actually trying something different this year rather than doing the massive mailers and hope you get 1% return and blah, blah, blah. This year, we actually in the last 30 days alone, we've sent out over 100 samples. And the one thing we're doing is putting companies' names on boxes and on cutting boards. And we've got about 6 items where we can put your name on it. And that seems to be really taking off. So I'll just give you an example.
Please.
One customer that we sent ordered 500 sausage and cheese boxes. Another one ordered 400. Another one potentially has 4,000 coming, and we're in negotiations right now for one client that needs 14,000 gifts. So when I look at my ROI, my return on investment, I told my staff, I've never seen anything like it. We put our food in front of them and then into their mouths. We get such a higher return than anything I've ever experienced. So I'm shifting my whole game plan, and next year I might send out $30,000 or $40,000 in samples. And this year we picked industries. I picked trucking, construction, pharmaceuticals, banking, and something else. So we picked 6 industries and ship like 20 per industry and see what we have the biggest return on. And I'm not sure there's any one outperforming the other because everybody seems to have interest in it. So it's really awesome.
So let's talk about actual numbers. You send out 20. Just give us an average cost and an average return that you're getting on that particular sample. Or is it that simple for you?
So the average cost, the retail cost on this box would be $50. Okay. So 120 of them, I got about $6,000 in samples.
Okay.
I would bet $6,000 out of, let's say, those 120 companies I sent samples to. I'm going to bet that $6,000 turns into $600,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Speaking of the lottery, that's
what is that, 100,000 to 1?
That's a huge multiple.
Yeah, 1,000 to 1 return on investment. It's all these people that go, I didn't know you had this. I didn't know your stuff was so good. I've heard of you, but I never tried it. Or you're the Shark Tank guy. Or wow, this is really amazing. And so what I'm finding more and more people want is people love good product, But when you have a backside story to go with good product is when everybody oohs and ahs and really feels warm and fuzzy and wants to talk to you. And we've got a really cool backside story along with superior product that really makes everybody want to know more about us.
The story is very important. I can't preach this enough. For them to know that they're part of something more than just a piece of meat. That sounded cliche when I said it. It's not just a piece of meat, all right? It's more than that. And the story, especially in the economy we're in today, where you can actually, social media, personal interaction, they feel like they're a part of something more than just a product. And the corporations that a lot of small businesses compete with, they're too big. They're trying to brand themselves that way, but they can't do it. They're not nimble like we are. You need to sell on your story. Totally agree with that.
Yep. So that's one of the biggest. That's probably one of the biggest surprises, I guess, is the fact that everybody wants to hear more. And then all of a sudden, I was in Baltimore last week, the day before QVC, speaking at a global food summit, and 3 other companies want to hire me to speak that were there for that one. And so people are really intrigued on the story, kind of where I came from, where I'm at, and kind of my vision to where I'm going. And let me tell you, it's not all walk in the park. As I say, the world doesn't know any of us are living. We're going to get our asses handed to us and kicked down and knocked down and beat up many, many times. But you better, brush yourself off, retie your shoes, and get up and get back after it again tomorrow.
Dave's a renaissance man. Before we go, I want to talk about your Shark Tank future. I joked at one point that you've been on probably as much as Kevin Harrington and more than any other guest shark. But when's the streak going to end? Are you coming back on this season? You going back in season 8, Beyond the Tank? What are we doing?
I don't know anything. You know what? I respect, I have the utmost respect for Sony, ABC, and what I call the Shark Tank family, Clay Newbill, Yoon, Max, Mindy, Scott, everybody that I know from the show is world class. And so if they would ever ask me to do an update or Beyond the Tank, absolutely, I would do it. Am I holding my breath thinking that I'm something special or I'm going to get that opportunity? Absolutely not. I already know I've been on season 4, 5, and 6. So theoretically, I've been on 50% of the completed episodes. So I'm thankful for what I've got, where I'm at. And, I tell them all the time, it's the power of Shark Tank. And, I love to share the story and share the journey, because when you tell people, everybody's like, well, how'd you do it? I flew to LA, stood in line 17 hours. I mean, it's an amazing story, and I believed in myself from day one. So did I get, quote, lucky? Maybe I got lucky to come back, but I'm not going to say there was any luck involved, because there was a sheer will and a determination to succeed, whether I got on Shark Tank or not.
I just picture you with a backpack full of sausage and a couple of cheese packets just hanging out in line all day long. Must have been pretty exciting.
I do love to feed people, TJ, as you know. And speaking of that, it's the holidays getting ready, so you better be cleaning out your freezer again as well.
The food's amazing. You sent me 2, and Tressa, let me just say, it's a great day around here when Dave Alwan ships you something. Well, Dave, such an honor to speak with you again. I'm excited to post some of the videos from my trip out there. I took some scenery shots. I got the shop. I got some shots of you kind of managing traffic and doing your thing. And then, of course, we've got the money shot. We've got you in the middle of the crowd and them going insane when you got your deal with Mark Cuban. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to share it so everyone else can kind of see what that feels like. And because a lot of people in the audience want to make that happen. I was honored to have you as one of my guests. I'm a big fan of yours. I'm a big fan of Rob's as well, and I know I can't thank you guys enough for the support as well along the way. Well, Dave, good luck to you. We look forward to some exciting things. And now that you're partners with Mike, I'm expecting an update soon, so hopefully I'll hear about it as soon as you know. But I know that with Shark Tank, you just never know until you know, right?
You never err until you err.
All right, Dave, for people who haven't tried your food yet, tell them where to find you.
Absolutely. EchoValleyMeats.com, Echo Valley Meats on Facebook, Echo Valley Meats Dave Alwan on LinkedIn. Watch us. I go to the site. It's constantly changing. We're always offering deals. Social media. We're very active out there in the social media world. Reach out to us. I mean, I think if you try our products, you will come back. I think right now, we are starting to push in the 70% of our retention rate now. So, 7 out of 10 are coming back ordering. So that's a pretty cool number.
It's phenomenal. Well, my best to you and the family. Tell them I said hello, especially to Don and Jessica. And it's an honor to have you back on. Thank you for jumping in.
It's my honor to be with you as your guest, TJ.
Thank you for jumping in to the Shark Tank podcast. Please subscribe to the show on iTunes and head over to SharkTankPodcast.net to get the show notes from each episode and join the free Shark Tank Insiders list. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Shark Tank Podcast and on Twitter at Shark Tank PDcast.
I'm a big fan of money. I like it. I use it. I have a little. I keep it in a jar on top of my refrigerator. I'd like to put more in that jar. That's where you come in.